Okay, the second part to this communication is rather than just sending a character from one person to another, I'm going to read a potentiometer, the data from a potentiometer, into one of the analog ports on the Arduino, and that data, I'm going to send it at a rate of 4,800 to the receiving Arduino, so it will be able to then display the value of the potentiometer remotely, so it's a bit like remote checking. Okay, so the program is very similar to before. Again, we've got the my serial and we have the serial. The serial is the bit to display the values on the screen, and my serial is connected to the wires. It's all to do with the wires that are connecting the two Arduinos. So basically, there's two parts in the main loop. So if there's data coming in from the wire, so if my serial.available, then it sends the data up onto the monitor, onto the serial monitor. Else, if it's not receiving data, it then reads the potentiometer. It's connected to A0, and then it sends the value that it's read from the potentiometer through the wires to the receiving computer. Okay. So what we would see on the screen if we're looking at the serial monitor is some values. Okay, so you can see it's about 606, like that. Occasionally you'll see a little bit of noise, which is quite interesting there. Okay, so if I then go onto the remote one here and turn this potentiometer, so I've changed the value. You can't see what the value is because I'm only sending the data, and we go back to this Arduino, you can see that the values change. And again, it's nicer in real time because you can twiddle the values and actually see it changing in real time rather than me walking backwards and forwards. The other quite cool thing you can do is, of course, you can send data from this one. So I can change that value, and then you can see it's changing the value on that one. So they're both talking to each other. And the final cool thing that you can do is, rather than displaying it as a number, but if you go to Tools and then Serial Plotter, okay, there's a bit of noise, you can see that. Okay, so when the person, I can't do it because I haven't got arms long enough, but if they were changing the value, you would be able to see the value changing on the other computer. So what you can do with both computers, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, I'll just go onto Serial Plotter. So we've got Serial Plotter going, okay, and then as I go back onto this one, move this potentiometer. So I'm moving the potentiometer, and you might just about see that it's working on the remote computer. Now, just talking about noise. So, interesting. You can see there's a few dropouts here, some bits of noise. So RS232 data isn't always that accurate. There can be noise in the system. How do you reject noise? Well, you could say, well, if there's a value which has suddenly changed, then ignore that value, so you can filter that value out. But it's quite a nice, I'm quite glad that there's noise here because this happens in the real world. And if I had an electric drill nearby these wires, they're not twisted, they're not earthed or anything like that, I'd probably get a lot more noise. So these are just real world problems that we have to deal with by shielding, by filtering with programming, and by electronic filtering.